Okay, I'm going to set up a visual filter to look for imperative verbs. Let's go ahead and adjust the layout to full. This needs to be set to morphology, and this needs to be set to Logos Greek morphology. And I begin by typing @ here, and I'm going to look for verbs that are imperative. Okay, and let's call this one imperative verbs. And we're going to look at these by making them red. Okay. Alright, and I think that's set up now. So if we want to look in the Greek Bible, in Ephesians and Romans, I believe. Oops, I don't think we can. Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay, and so the filter should be on, right? And yep, it's set up. Imperative verbs is set up already. So we can scroll through, starting in chapter 1, to see where the imperatives show up. And surprisingly, there's nothing. Starting in chapter 3, there's one right there. Only one. And then so these except for that one imperative in chapter 3, this is primarily theological in nature. And now we see in chapter 6, around verse 11 and 12, now we're seeing imperatives pop up in chapter 6. And then in 7 and 8, again, large theological section. And 9, theological. 10, theological. 11, and towards the end of 11 here, starting in verse 9, we see a few more imperatives, and some more imperatives right here. And then 12, beginning of chapter 12, some imperatives, and definitely some more. And so it looks like as he is closing out Romans, as you can see, a lot more imperatives in 15. You can see all these imperatives. A lot of these imperatives are in a whole bunch in 16. And that's it. So couple theological sections followed by some imperatives, but definitely towards the end of the book of Romans, the latter chapters are filled with imperatives. It makes sense following the deep theological stuff that really occurs in the middle part of Romans. Okay, so let's go to Ephesians now and take a look. And again, I have the visual filter is set up for imperative verbs. And I think the first chapter here in Ephesians, there are no imperatives. Yeah, that's definitely a very theological chapter. Chapter 2, no imperatives until you reach down here in verse 11, just one imperative. Chapter 3, very theological. 4, mostly theological until the very end here in starting in verse 25. you can see all the imperatives pop up, and then obviously chapter 5 as well. Um, very practical in nature instruction from Paul here. And also in chapter 6. Okay, so that's how you set up the visual filter in the Logos, and I just looked through Romans and Ephesians and looked at the areas of each that contain the more practical commands from Paul versus the theology.